Welcome back. This is Beauty and the Surgeon. Dr. Jason Martin, I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon. We have Amy with us, certified nutritional therapist, and we have a guest, Courtney Samuel. Amy, why don't you describe Courtney to our audience?
Oh, to describe Courtney to people who are not watching is
Besides
impossible.
him being a beast.
Yeah. He is a beast. Courtney is one of the very first people I met when I moved to Denver. He was my personal trainer for several years, and I mean, you can't describe Courtney without seeing him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go to our Instagram and YouTube channel to watch this video, because if you don't, you're missing out.
You're absolutely missing out. Courtney, thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so Courtney, the reason we have you on, this podcast specifically is about what we do for a living, which is empowerment, it's about education, it's about transformation. Do these things kind of resonate with you?
All day.
Yeah.
It's perseverance.
Right.
You know, day in, day out, grind, working for perfection, and working our hardest towards it.
So you have Body by Perseverance. That's the establishment you have. It's my BPP. B whatever.
BBP.
BBP.
Bill Paul.
Yeah.
Boy Paul.
Yeah.
On Instagram. And you work with normal people every day. We've had other guests on. Some of them are trainers to professional athletes and stuff like that. And we're going to go through your history because you have that in your background. But you actually work with normal people every day.
I work with, like I said, from 8 to 80, dumb, crippled, and crazy is pretty much my my clientele. I enjoy working with everyday people because that's the majority of the population. You know, we're not all superstar athletes. We're not all high-end movie stars. Most people are just working 9 to 5, trying to get through the grind. Mom and dads and teachers, what have you.
Right, and that's the majority of people who listen to this podcast. That's the majority of people who come in my office. It's really cool to interview people that are all up in it, especially with professional athletes and stuff like that, or professionals, bodybuilders, or whatever. But I think it's really more salient and important to get a message out for the common person to understand. And that's what you do. What you do is help people transform. That's what I do too. You make their fat cells smaller. I suck their fat cells out. So that's basically how it goes.
Yes.
Two different rooms.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah. All right. So we've had two Denver guests. We've had a lot of guests on here, some really good guests. We've had two people from Denver. One of them is Dr. Matt Metz. It was an episode about bariatric surgery. It was weight loss surgery.
Okay.
That guy's legit.
Okay.
He does this amazing procedure called the duodenal switch procedure, which is complicated, but it helps people with weight loss and also reverses diabetes. So you're competing with him.
Sounds good.
And then we've also had KP. You ever heard of KP before?
Yes. King Polo.
King Pollo.
Pollo.
He rolls the L.
King Pollo.
Whatever.
King of the chickens.
Exactly. King of the chickens. So he was.
That's my guy.
He was a competitive boxer.
Yeah.
He was in the fitness world, and amazing story in terms of he had a benign mass on his spine, T10, belly button area, and was affecting his lower extremities, both with sensation and walking. He had to have surgery, survived that. He's still kicking. So I'm just saying that the two people from Denver have pretty amazing stories.
They're awesome guys.
Can you beat it?
I'm gonna be me.
Okay, that's it.
I'm gonna do me.
All right.
I'm gonna do me.
So let's get started. Actually,
Oh, wow.
You grew up in Denver, right?
Born and raised. Went to Gateway High School. This pic right here is North Dakota State.
I got that for you. Hold on real quick. That's Gateway.
That is Gateway. Our symbol didn't look like that though when I played.
So you never told us you were an Olympian, right? So I read that.
Yeah.
So it's the Gateway Olympians.
The Olympians.
Yeah.
We are the Olies, the mighty Olies. Still remember that. That's a long time ago. After we went 0-24, my last 2 years of high school.
So how do you go from team 0-24 to North Dakota State University, which was at that time a really, really good Division II school? I mean, that's top.
Wow. So my high school story, we went 0-24. And by the way, we had 3 NFL football players from an 0-24 football team?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did the others go on to play?
Marcus Brigham we had 2 running backs, Marcus Brigham and Kevin Prosser. They both went to, Marcus ended up going to Wyoming and bounced around to a few teams. Kevin ended up at a few colleges, and don't worry where he went to camp. But we had 3 prospects from an 0-24 team, so I think we had some bad coaches. I was gonna say, let me stop.
That's long enough. Those guys may not be around anymore.
That's my Coach Gonzo. That's my guy.
Yeah.
how I ended up at North Dakota State. Long story short, in college I was getting recruited. In high school I was getting recruited by a few big schools. Thought I was going to Kansas. Thought I was going to be a Jayhawk. They had offered me a scholarship, and specifically, I still have this chart on my wall. They had told me when they were coming out to watch my games. So I had the games highlighted. Lie to you not, the practice before they came out to watch me, I broke my leg. Broke my leg, fractured my fibula on a stupid blocking play that when I look back at it now, I'm like, I shouldn't even been involved. That was a dumb decision by the coaches. Ended up breaking my legs. I missed, I think, more than the majority of my senior year playing high school football. My senior year. So, long story short, Kansas didn't offer me, didn't know what was going to go on. I knew I was going to play college football. Loved school, and my sons are here, so don't pay attention to what I'm about to tell you right now. Ended up ditching class one day. First time I ditched class, lie to you not. Senior year, I'm like, man, we ain't doing nothing but head out. Ended up running into Coach Prince. Coach Prince is I think he's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions right now. And so at that time, he was at Fort Lewis College. And so I'm walking down the hall, and he's like, hey, aren't you Courtney Samuel? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, who are you? He's like, I'm Coach Prince from Fort Lewis, here to recruit my boy Peter. And I was like, that's cool. He's like, man, you should come up on a recruiting trip with him. We'd love to have you there. And then he's like spilling all these other guys that they got coming up. So at the time, I'm like, well, shit, it's a free weekend to go party, have some fun. And went up to Durango and fell in love. And my plan was, I talked to KU, and they're like, well, we can offer you a walk-on. And I was like, well, let me go up here and get film for a year, offer me a scholarship next year. So long story short, went to Durango. Coach Bradley, Coach Gus Bradley, greatest coach alive.
But that's a junior JUCO, right?
No, it says it's small D2.
Small D2. Okay.
Coach Bradley was the defensive coordinator and ended up being the head coach there. And Coach Bradley now is the defensive coordinator for the LA Rams and was the head coach for Jacksonville. At that time, he greatest coach alive, and he ended up getting the defensive coordinating position at North Dakota State.
Oh, and that's how you got over there.
Yeah, he was like, hey, Court, this is against NCAA rules. But,
so there's two things here. Number one, any senior in high school should skip school because something good's going to happen.
Never know. God has
and
a
secondly,
plan.
you should, do something a little bit fraudulent to get to the school you need to get to.
Yeah. And he wasn't supposed to let me know he was leaving, but he was like, I really think you could play up there, so why don't you think about coming out? And
well, it's funny to look up North Dakota State. This is a podcast about beauty and transformation. Yeah. We're talking about football, but North Dakota State, has like one of the best winning percentages of all teams ever in football.
Ever.
It is a legit school. It's like Missouri Valley now, but at the time you were there, it was Division II, and then it became Division I, 2004.
Yeah, but we were still a powerhouse there. You got a whole bunch of farm boys, and those guys could play ball up there, serious ball. So that's how I ended up in Fargo, North Dakota. Yeah.
Which is, everyone thinks Denver's cold. It's not. It's like super sunny and warm. Fargo is real cold.
You never experienced the winter until you went up there. Yeah.
You might as well be in Canada.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, like you were, again, this is what I love about you. You're super competitive. And, obviously someone like me and Amy too, we're very competitive people, right? Mm-hmm. And when I first met you, it clicked right away. Meeting people like that it makes you feel better as a competitive person because sometimes you feel like you're
crazy.
A little bit an alien. Yeah. So, but you had some bad luck, and this is one of the things we always talk about. You got to be able to pick yourself back up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. After pregnancy, if you feel bad, you got to get to the gym, you got to tone up, and if you have to, see the plastic surgeon. Do what you need to do. Get your life back where you want it to be and move on, right?
Keep fighting.
And you did that. You broke your leg, figured it out, skipped school, and ended up where you wanted to be, or at a really, really good school, Division II school, but a good school. And then, I don't want to go ahead. Amy, do you have anything to add to this? But then
Nope. Not yet.
You get... Somehow you end up in the NFL. You're an undrafted free agent to New Orleans Saints, 2004. So tell us about your time at the Saints.
So ended up being a free agent in 2000. Bounced around to a few camps. Never officially signed with any team. Got with the Saints, and then my last workout was the Oklahoma Stampeders. This is a crazy story. So I was working out, got cut from the Saints, was trying to play some arena ball, tore my hamstring playing for the Oklahoma Stampeders. On the way back from Oklahoma, Rick Smith called me from the Broncos, and it's like, hey, Court, we want to get you in camp. Literally, lie to you not. He's like, you just have to come in and run a 40.
Oh.
They had two guys. I don't know who the other guy was. Me and a guy from like Michigan, and he said he brought us in. He said whoever runs the fastest 40 is getting signed.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You just tore your hamstring.
I was literally sitting on a bag of ice, and I went to the workout, and I just told him, I said, I'm gonna give it all I can. And I'm notoriously, for a big guy, I was pretty fast. I'm 4'2", 4'3" guy at 215, and ran a shitty time. And at that time, me and God had a come into Jesus moment, and I said, I'm done. Had a degree, thankfully got a degree in computer science, and was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, very stressful time time trying to make a team, and just didn't work out, so it wasn't in his plans.
I think like the reaction to failure really defines someone more than like the ability to achieve.
It is.
I mean, for me personally in my life, and the people that I respect have gone through things. I
think we all have to go through a lot, and at the time we never realized what it's for. I still remember even on the draft day, my agent was like, oh, you're going to be 6th, 7th round draft pick. So my mom had this big draft party. So I'm like, oh, pressure's on. And I'm sitting in my room, phone's not ringing. So draft ends, and I was like, damn, I'm just going to take a ride. So I just went out. So my pops calls me. He's like, hey, you're not going to run off a bridge. You're not going to kill yourself or anything. And I was like, no, Dad, I'm good. I said, I just need to clear my mind. So it's a lot. And then I always tell people, that life seems so great, but the pressure to perform at the highest level, day in and day out, I don't think people realize what that takes. It takes a lot. And there's certain people that are blessed. There's certain guys that no matter what they do, they're going to be strong, they're going to be fast, they're going to be able to read and play football. But for the guys like in my nature, I was just a hard worker. I was a clumsy kid growing up. I didn't start playing football until I got to high school. So I was a late bloomer, as I say, and I was still blooming. And just the pressure to perform like that every day was tough. It was super tough. It was probably one of the most stressful times of my life.
I mean, to be honest with you, surgery residency is kind of like that, in a different way. I mean, it's more physical. You were a cornerback, so you're super fast. You have super speed.
Best athletes on the field.
Right, absolutely. But, for surgery, obviously, you don't need to be fast.
No.
Doesn't hurt sometimes to be fast.
Brain power.
To run away from your attending when they're yelling at you. But, I mean, there's that same quality exists in surgery, and it takes a toll on you mentally too, right?
Yeah.
You get to be middle-aged and you look back, you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But it takes a certain type of person with a certain type of personality to get through that.
Yeah.
With that said, sometimes these situations that are bad, and we tell our patients all the time, can turn out actually to be great, right? But what did you do after? So you kind of had your mea culpa, and what did you do after that?
So, like I said, my degree was in computer science. So I ended up getting a job at Sun Microsystems, and I was sitting in the office one day, and at that time engineering tech was booming, so they would spoil us. We have donuts, bagels every morning. You'd walk in, and you couldn't have, and that's what they want you. They want you to sit in your cubicle and just program all day. I think you
were kind of like a lab rat. They were testing obesity on.
It was
throwing all the stuff at you.
And I literally went from probably 212 to about 240.
Ooh.
That quick, and I was hating life. I was like, I'm done. I said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I still remember I was looking out the window and I was like, what do you want to do? And I think I went out that day and got my first gym. Purchased, signed the lease, and was like, I'm starting a gym.
I mean, like literally signed the lease?
Literally, I lie to you not. I got in an argument with the girl I was dating at that time. Driving home, ended up getting rerouted, and was driving by 17th and Grant, and it said for lease. And I was like, this is home. And that's how it started.
That was the little gym. That was the
very 500 square foot gym.
I never saw that gym.
You boxed there.
Oh, you boxed?
Yeah, you boxed there.
Oh, I did?
Yep.
That was the third renovation of it, but the very first gym was 500 square feet.
before he took over the space next to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, I'm not trying to keep hitting home with this, but people taking a chance too, right? So if you want to make your life better, you have to sometimes take a chance. And that can be really hard, especially when you feel downtrodden. You've been working at Sun Microsystems and you're obese.
You just fed refined carbohydrates all day.
Which I can't even imagine you obese because you're so big already.
Getting trapped in a cubicle eating.
Programming computers.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is the videos won't show your size. But
it's good. It's good.
To that point, let's show your size after you got back in shape. Look at that, man. Are you kidding me? Which one is that?
I don't know if that's my No, that wasn't Mr. Colorado.
I got the wrong picture.
That might have been Mr. Colorado. So this year I think I won Mr. Colorado Natural. And I will put it out there. I am a natural bodybuilder. So
and we've talked about that before.
League.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's for people that most people listen to this podcast don't even understand that world, and it's a niche world, but they just don't. You don't use drugs.
Correct.
And you use what God gave you and try to maximize it with normal nutritional stuff,
which is a lot harder.
Hard work.
A lot harder than most guys.
We'll talk about that because we normal people struggle with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you started the gym, and here you are now. How long ago was that?
Whoa, 2003, 2004. So. About 14, 15 years ago.
You're OG. You're OG in the fitness world.
One of the few.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a gym opening every week. I've seen a lot of gyms open and close. So I'm blessed to still be around.
Yeah.
Well, there's a gym was a gym in that space. Is it gone now? I haven't driven by there, but there was.
There's
a good spot for a gym.
I know so many guys. I mean, there's only in our profession, as we say, like you said, the true OGs are the ones who've been in the game for a while. Because fortunately, with social media, everybody puts their modeling pictures up or their few transformations, and then or they do one show, and all of a sudden they're a master trainer.
Right.
100.
One show, I'm a nutritionist.
Our jobs are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a good Instagram account, you get some good before and afters. God knows that they're even theirs.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone's like, oh, that's the one I want to go to.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to do a little bit of research on that.
And make sure you're going to the right guy. And word of mouth is, we're old school. It's word of mouth now.
Yeah.
I tell people, if somebody refers you because you've changed their life, then that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in surgery. I mean, our best patients are the ones that are referred by previous patients.
Yeah.
So if you think about the tenets, education, empowerment, transformation, all that kind of stuff, so you do it every day. So that's what Amy and I brought you in for, is really to help our listeners, the people that listen or watch this podcast, kind of understand what they can do if they're a normal person. And we have tons of questions for you. Some of the stuff may be getting too far into it, but I think that it's really important for people to understand that there are people that struggle out there. Secondly, that the data that's coming out now about weight loss is pretty difficult to handle if you're a person that struggles with weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that what we've done historically may not have always been the best in terms of the way we work out. Mm-hmm. And that we've changed a lot of things. So I want to go through that. So Amy, why don't you get us started? What's on your mind with Courtney?
Yeah, well, I think the important thing too, with people always think that plastic surgery is the easy way out, and it really isn't. It's not going to change anything really. It's like the finishing touch. You got to put in the hard work yourself first. So I guess my biggest question that would really relate to our audience is just, how do you program for people over years and years, to keep them improving, to keep aesthetics, moving in the right direction? Yeah.
It goes into, and anything with when you're starting to program somebody, and you probably have heard this, the only diet works the one that works for you. Mm-hmm. Because there's a million different ways to diet out there. There's no right way. There's no wrong way.
But I read the keto's the best. I mean, come on, Courtney.
Right, keto.
Shouldn't be a raw vegan.
I could vegan, axe-free.
It's free vegan?
Yes.
The fat vegan.
God.
You can be a junk food vegan.
Right, because Amy always says Oreos are vegan.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You can eat all Oreos. I'm totally vegan.
So the only diet that really works is one that you can focus on and one that you can stay consistent with.
To that point, when people are trying to get their life in order, and like Amy's saying, a long-term plan, how do you talk to them like a person in terms of their diet, but also their exercise, and what ratios make the most difference? I mean, because Amy, just so you know, we've said this before, Amy always says, abs are made in the kitchen.
Yeah.
She's a nutritional therapist.
Yeah.
And obviously you're going to agree with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, how do you have that conversation with him?
So with anybody, I tell them it's the key point is just to slowly roll them into it. You know, a lot of I can't bring you into the gym and say, hey, you need to be working out 6 times a week. Your body's not ready for that. So a lot of people is just slowly bringing them to a point where they can start training 6-7 times a week. I work out every day, but I've been doing this for, you know, since I was 12. And I've been training like this since I was 12. So it's just a good coach is going to find that and dissect the person and bring them along according to how they should be brought along. So not too fast, not too slow, slowly making changes. I think a good part of anything like in life, you should have goals. Maybe your goal is to wear size 4 next month or to be in a certain event that you want to look for. So slowly introducing new goals in their lives and just holding them accountable. I have an InBody machine now, so we do monthly check-ins and make sure that we're progressing correctly.
So InBody does body fat percentage?
Just body fat percentage, lean muscle
electrical
mass.
impedance, yeah.
It is, but they're cool. There's actually a hand version as well, so they're more accurate than what somebody does.
They're supposed to be 98% accurate to a DEXA scan, which is DEXA scan is like the most accurate.
Well, it's so funny because I've been reading a lot about that, and Amy obviously knows a lot about that. And it's interesting because nothing's perfect. Everyone always goes to the DEXA scan. That's not perfect. The main thing is to measure yourself consistently at the same time with the same kind of
tool.
Postprandial component time frame.
Right, like when you did your DEXA scan right after you'd done legs, and I told you that your results were completely inaccurate.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think it was lower, so I took it, you know?
Yeah.
What was your DEXA scan?
I think it was 14 or 13% at the time.
That's good. Did you go to...
No, it was a place I was working. I kind of, you know, one of my clinics.
Yeah.
The guy next door had the DEXA scan.
It's a pretty cool piece. I just wanted to brag that I was the lowest DEXA scan in Colorado.
What were you? Like 2%?
3, yeah.
I was like 3.4.
Yeah.
Is that you're competitive?
That was like a week before a
right.
contest.
Courtney, this is a podcast for normal people, right?
Sorry.
All right, come on, man.
I was super.
And we gave you your past history just to have people like you. Now they're going to all be angry with you right now.
No body fat.
By the way, I mean like less than 7% or 8% is just
It's pretty insane.
It's unruly, and then at some point your body just shuts down. So I wouldn't advise anyone get to 2%, to be honest with you.
No, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Well, not sustainable.
No. Right.
Yeah. I have a question. A lot of our patients or a lot of people come into our office and are looking for instant change. And I'm sure you get that same thing.
Yeah.
So we have to say it too. Someone has a wedding next week and they want a facelift today. You know, you probably get the same thing. I want to be a size 4 tomorrow and I'm starting at a size 24.
Yeah.
So like, how do you keep people going?
You know, honestly, I've done one of two things, and one is the simplest thing that I've done is changed my structure as far as how I take clients. I won't take a client unless they commit to 3 to 6 months, and I think that's a big. Before I'd be like, oh yeah, just pay me. I'll do one session here, one session there, and it's not that quick. It is truly a lifestyle, and so. You know, my minimum sessions right now are 24 sessions. And I said, you know, at 24 sessions, you may lose 2 to 3%.
Right.
You know, you may lose 10 pounds, maybe. And I really have to coach clients to say the long-term road. It's not a quick turnaround. Yes, I could, you know, have you do a juice fast and you might lose 10 pounds. It's water weight.
Right.
And you're going to put on 20 pounds as soon as you go back to eat normal.
I think that's hugely important because number one, that most people, like normal people's main problem, and mine was too, was lean body mass, right? Muscle mass.
Yep.
If you do a crash diet, I mean, the stuff I read is 1% a week at the most. If you do a crash diet, the faster you do it, the more muscle mass you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have a lot of muscle mass to lose to begin with. Mm-hmm. So then you're putting yourself in a deficit.
And then worse,
you consider your metabolism at that point because you have less muscle.
And it's not sustainable. It's not, you know, when these stars have these crash detoxes, I mean, they're doing that because they have to be on the Grammys for...
They're doing that. They're starting at 13, 12%, and they're going down to 8%.
Right.
Like, are you giving me a break? I mean, come on. It is so unrealistic.
They're not going from 13 to 8.
Are they going from 18 to 14?
20 to...
20 to 18.
Yeah, okay. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's not too many people walking around at 13%.
Well, who knows?
And at 8%, those people are walking onto a stage for a competition.
They're getting ready. That's not.
It's user bias. I'm surrounded by all these people with low body fat percentages.
You are, and we work with a lot of competitors, so
Yeah.
he has, you get a little bit of a
Distorted
warped sense of
view.
what a normal person looks like.
The 5%ers. Those are the 5%ers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the things that was really intriguing me, because I think, Amy and I were having a conversation beforehand about consistency versus intensity. So I lost weight. So one of the ways I lost weight was to exercise intensely, really with resistance training.
Right.
But I do think actually consistency rules it all. And like you said, the way to be consistent is to be goal-oriented.
It is.
Because the human condition does not allow us to be consistent, right?
It's the hardest thing in life. I mean, we actually have, we just moved to our new gym, and the quote's not up. In our old gym, we had compound consistency on the wall. And that's really what life is, just days and days of consistency compounded, and then you'll see your true results. But like I tell, anybody, being consistent day in, day out is the hardest thing you can do. I mean, in any profession.
Right, and medically speaking, it goes to the fact that for obese or morbidly obese people, within 3 years, 95% will fail a diet. And they think the reason that any diet, and for all the paleo, vegan, aficionados out there, it doesn't matter, right? It all equalizes. So there's some causality there that we don't really understand. But the reality of it is that you're only 5% will succeed. And really it comes down to people can't be consistent. And as part of that is physiologically what's happening with your body. You go into starvation mode, it adapts and it does things. It makes you hungry. It does all the, these hormones change, all these complicated things, and that always makes an effect. And that's where you need, and Amy and I talk about this all the time, you need a coach like you. You need someone external, not a family member. You need someone who's unbiased, who's objective, to help you. And it's worth the investment for those people to find somebody. And it doesn't, not always does it have to be someone who's like literally physically working out with you. It could be someone who just is supporting you, a group of people. That's why things like Weight Watchers works, right? Because they have the group support. And
it's about being a coach.
Yeah.
And I don't call our trainers, they're coaches. You have those coaches, specifically, as I say, Coach Bradley, I could have a broken leg and one arm, and I would still go out there and try to play for him, just because he motivated me in different ways. And that's how we try to relate to our clients. It's not about being a hardcore trainer. I'm not trying to yell at you. It's about those little coaching cues, like, damn, man, if I eat this cookie, I might be letting Courtney down, or shit, I didn't get my cardio in this morning. I know I was supposed to. It's those things, that little cues like that help you develop that consistency in life. And I think everybody can be consistent. I'm here to help you.
Do you believe everyone can?
Oh yeah. You have to train. You can do anything you want to do.
You believe that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to train for it.
What do you think?
Oh, I believe that also.
You can do anything you want to do.
I kind of believe that too. I get disappointed sometimes. I'm just saying. But I think that I blame myself when I can't get through to somebody. Yeah. I don't blame them, because I think that human beings, all of us, build these walls and excuses and things like that in our lives to protect ourselves from the bad feelings we have inside.
But I think it goes into also, it's kind of why you live in, right? Because you're always shooting for a goal, or you're always shooting to do something. And I think once you stop doing that, then what's the point of living? So my goal is to try to be consistent as possible. And I'm like, all right, so yeah, some days I have a downfall, some days I may mess up, but let's get back on the road and just keep driving.
There was a guy we interviewed, Steve Shaw. He's a power lifter. I mention him all the time, but he is so inspiring to me. And he lost 150 pounds, changed his life around. But we were talking to him, and he said there was a point where he didn't feel like he didn't think he could go on. I mean, like he felt like it was over.
It was it.
And something clicked in his head, and he just said, I just need to start walking. Or he referred to walking, and literally not walking, but he just going somewhere. Yeah. And he said that the hard part about that at that time was that you have to convince yourself that just taking a step forward is enough. You don't even have to know why you're doing it, or the reason. It doesn't have to have this grand plan.
Just keep moving.
Yeah, and that's where the consistency stuff. So if you have goals and you stay consistent, even those days when you really don't want to go, you just go, right? Because that's part of it.
You get programmed. I mean, it's just developing that pattern, and like, you know what? Some days I'm tired, but I'm just gonna get up and go. and see where it leads me. I'm gonna get up and go. And then you look back. I mean, that's your story, right? You know, as they say, most people who achieve or who get to a high level of success, when they get there, they're like, oh, this isn't, you know, what I thought it was. But when they look back and they read their story, they're journaling, and that's where they develop, like, oh, man, I forgot about that day, or I forgot when, you know, that happened. And so that's just important. It's all developing your story. So as I tell people, I'm a truly spiritual guy. So when I do meet Jesus, I'm going to say, hey, I wore my body out, dog, so it's time for me to rest.
I tried.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tried.
I tried. Yeah. I tried. So, you know, it's time for me to rest out. And, you know, and I can go back in my journal, and he can look in the journal and say, oh, okay, yeah, you tried.
It's tough being Catholic, because when you meet Jesus, you have to just apologize for being an asshole your entire life.
My kids are Catholic, you know. It's spiritual.
It's like, listen, Jesus, I'm really sorry for being such an asshole.
Yeah. I'll be spiritual.
I tried.
Yeah.
What do you think? You know, we deal with this all the time, just self-perception and people's struggle. One of the things you talked about was, you know, for people throughout their lifetime and as they get older, I think that kind of alludes to it too. I mean, you know, motivations change obviously throughout their life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we all think about. We think about, especially with our patient base, like how do you program for someone who maybe has never really worked out, and they're, you know, 50, 60, and like think that they can't change at this point.
So you know, a big saying of mine that I'm 42 now, I always say, like wine, right? I'm trying to get better with time. And it is my mission that as I get older, I can look better and I can feel better. And you do have to have a reason. My biggest reason is for my kids. I can't let my son beat me at anything. And I'm dead serious. And he will tell you right now, we will race, we play basketball, and I will beat him like a dog until he beats me. And that is my goal. I was like, I will stay on top of my game until my son. I
love that, because, you know, so many parents are helicopter parents, and it's like ruining our society. And you're like raising a
fighter,
a warrior.
You get on the court with me, we playing. We gonna play like men.
I love it. I do a little bit with my son, but I'm not gonna tell my wife.
That's right. No,
I keep it hidden.
And that's what dads and moms are for, right? Yeah. Moms are there to, you know, she tells you, like, too hard on the boys. I'm like, no, I'm not. You console. You know, when they cry, they come to you. But when they come to me, I'm trying to teach them how to be a man and try to teach them work ethic and how to achieve goals and how to stay strong. And that's why, you know, you need co-parents. Everybody has their role, and this is my role. But again, that is my achievement, and that's what keeps pushing me to be better, because I want to be around, and not just to beat them, but just to be healthy. You know, I want to be able to, hey, you guys, you want to go to the park? You know, too many times I see parents who can't even push their grocery carts around the grocery store without dying, and I'm just like, how does that feel?
I think that same thing. How does that feel to carry that?
Yeah, to carry that
burden, that weight, that feeling.
But you know, I mean, but you're coming from a different viewpoint, as we are too, because it comes from a point of compassion and not of judgment, right?
No.
I mean, because you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at those people and like, oh, you know, just write them off.
No.
Right, that they're lazy.
But, you know, when honestly, and this is no lie, when I look at people, I'm like, damn, how could I help them? You know, I'm walking behind her.
That's what I feel too.
I'm like, shit, you know, we need to do some squats in them legs. I'll get those glutes activated, you know, and do and I have honestly come up to people and given my business card, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I would love to help you. And that's how, I think in society we did that more instead of being judgmental, we'd be better off.
Right.
You know, if somebody's down and out, you don't know their story. How did they get there?
Right, you don't know.
Just say, like, how can I be of help? How can I be of service? And that'll get you a lot further.
Yeah, I think that the same thing is so true with nutrition. And Dr. Martin and I obviously talk a lot about nutrition. I always say it's like talking to people about religion.
Yeah.
But I always approach, like, I'll work with anybody on their own personal views of nutrition.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to force what I think on somebody. It's probably the same thing with working out. I mean, either somebody's going to come along and, you know, can make the changes that you recommend, or they're not. And they're going to find someone else to help them. But
and same point. That's why there's a lot of plastic surgeons. There's a lot of trainers. And I tell people this, I'm going to do what I know best and my philosophy. And if I'm not for you, let me recommend somebody who may fit you.
Yeah.
You know, or I would be the only personal trainer on earth, but I'm not. So.
Well, you were the personal trainer for Top Chef when they were in Denver. That's a pretty big accomplishment.
My buddy Padma, yeah, I was Padma's personal trainer. She's cool. She's cool people. She's pretty.
Yeah,
awesome.
they seem fun.
You probably have some type of like NDR with them, but do you know how she got that scar on her arm?
Yeah, she got into an automobile accident.
I assumed it had to have been from an accident.
When she was young, and you know her story is kind of similar. She went through a lot of different experiences, and then I know that scar, but they told her that she couldn't model anymore
because of the scar.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I forgot how the story came about, but somebody thought it was beautiful, and that's why it was so featured. He featured it in all her pictures, because if you notice, in a lot of her modeling pictures, they always show that scar.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's another story about changing and using what we might think as the downfall, or why did I get in this bad accident, and it comes out to be a blessing.
So, I think all of us sitting in this room are kind of inspired people. We're motivated. Not everyone's that way, right? So we get
Definitely
that,
not.
right? So let's kind of get to the nitty gritty and kind of focus on what you do. This kind of, for those people out there who are having difficulty with motivations and stuff like this. Obviously, we've established you got to have consistency, but basic level stuff. How long they should work out. What they should focus on diets. I mean, I think most people understand. I say this, and Amy, it's like they don't, but. The diet and nutrition is energy balance in a lot of cases. So the amount of energy you put in and the amount of energy you use usually equates to
calories in, calories
out. Yeah,
it's really that simple. But
I mean, with caveats of like hormones and other things that are going on, people that have depleted themselves a lot in the past, the yo-yo dieting. We can get into that later, but just for the standard to understand when you deal with a client.
So when we deal, I mean, there's baseline things that we need to figure out. Your activity level, what programs have worked for you in the past, and then number one, I think my philosophy right now is I want to make it as simple as possible, because if it gets too complicated, people will fail at it, and they'll just get frustrated and I can't do this. So. Simple, small steps. Maybe we start off with your basic macros and taking a few things out of your diet to help you. Let's focus on taking out some sugars this week until we start seeing the changes. I focus on that at first, along with some cardio and just upping your normal daily activity, and then of course the workouts. And then as we start producing results, we get a little bit more detailed.
So you started with cardio first, not resistance training, or you do a little bit of both?
A combination of both.
Right.
The resistance training is always with me, but cardio is, I don't need to sit there and watch you do cardio. I tell people that's your own job, and that's outside of the gym. So cardio is just getting your daily activity, picking up, because a lot of people just don't do cardio. So I'm like, let's start off with 20, 30 minutes of cardio in a day. I prefer fasted cardio, meaning on an empty stomach. And that can be done before a workout, first thing in the morning, or after a workout. Starting your levels off there, 2 times minimum training, and then we'll start in your nutrition. As we get deeper and deeper and start seeing more results, we'll get deeper and deeper in nutrition. But I do believe nutrition is 90% of the key, teaching people how to eat right.
How does that make you feel, Amy?
Well, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I think plastic surgery has some little percentage in there, but it's obviously, I'm just joking.
It is.
I'm joking.
No, I'm sure you could change a few people's lives quickly, but
yeah. So you really focus on. So what do you do when people come in? I mean, I listen to Amy help our patients out. It's really difficult to talk to people about nutrition, and I think the idea of keeping it simple to start with is really good, but. Do you have them track what they're eating? I mean, people even struggle with that.
Yeah. So, and then I'll go into this again. This is my philosophy. You have to know what you're putting in your body, and a lot of people don't. And I don't know there's other ways around it, but I like people to know what exactly what they're putting in their body. So your macros, your daily macros, your protein, carbs, and fats. So I have a system where I recommend for my clients that this is what you should be if you're at this lean muscle mass or this weight. Let's start off here and see how you do. Let's journal every day, see what you're putting in your body, because a lot of people don't realize how much crap they're eating. They really forget. And especially when you're being sensitive with fats. Oh, I was eating nuts. I'm eating pretty healthy. There's a lot of damn fat in nuts. A lot.
I was following my macros and I was like, I'm gonna eat some almonds, and I just
and
grabbed a big thing of it and I weighed it, but I didn't check the macros on it. And afterwards, it was like half my fat allotment for the day. It was like, this was the dumbest choice. Almonds are great. I'm not saying almonds are bad, but the quantity of almonds I ate.
And that's really, that's where the diarying and journaling, you have to realize portion sizes. You know, people are like, oh, I was snacking on granola all day and I ate the whole bag. And I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah. You realize what you ate? You probably ate 10 grams of protein and 150 grams of carbs and 90 grams of fat. So now, you know, the big thing is most people don't eat enough protein, number one. Eat way too many fats and way too many carbs. So we just gotta kind of figure out how to balance you out. It does take an effort though, and there's no way around it. I wish it could be like, oh, let me just give you this cookie cutter plan, you're gonna lose weight. No, not for a sustainable diet and not for a sustainable lifestyle. But once you do get there, and I promise you will get there, and even for somebody like me, my metabolism right now, I mean, I walk around at 250 at 10-11% body fat, but it took me 6-7 years to do that. Consistent years of watching my diet, not having cheat days, and just staying in and out of the grind. But now that I'm there, it's cake.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we say this to our patients, and they don't really get it. And a lot of them are women, obviously, and I think that there's a stigma about resistance training and lean body mass, and I don't know. God knows, what did you call it? The cardio bunnies?
Cardio bunnies.
Yeah. Can we really talk about the stigma about resistance training? Because I think that's the number one thing I hear.
So and I like, it makes me laugh hysterically. The women are like, oh well, yeah, I can't do weights. I'll just bulk up, and I'm like in the background, like you wish, nuts. like I've been training at an advanced level for years, and I wish I was bulking up.
Yeah. And my wife, who she'll admit is one of the smartest people we know, she's getting her PhD now. Yeah. She doesn't. She only wants to do yoga because she doesn't want to bulk up with weights.
It drives
Courtney,
me
the main
nuts.
time I'm waking up every day at 4:30,
lifting,
taking my whey protein from Level. Shout out to Level. Taking creatine, lifting as hard as I can every day.
Losing weight.
I mean, I can't put muscle on. I'm trying so hard.
Can't gain weight.
Can't gain weight. And it's a good sign. But I get this.
I just want to say that I think it's really important that anyone listening to this podcast to listen from you, the expert, that resistance training, lean body mass is the fountain of youth, right?
It's simple science. And I tell people, if you don't believe me, wear a heart rate monitor. Mm-hmm. Wear a heart rate monitor, go to a heavy resistance weight training class. Come to my legs group. And then go do Orange Theory. See how many more calories you burn. And then it's not even that. There's an epoch effect. So there's an effect after you leave that you're still burning calories. So it's just simple science. And women, believe me, you guys don't have enough testosterone in your body to build muscle.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Like you wish.
Yeah. And if you do, you need to go see a different
because you have like gonadal problems.
Yeah.
Like you're hermaphrodite.
Or you get some shots in your butt.
Well, okay, there's those people too.
Yeah.
We've had a few of those. But they come in with the biceps bigger than mine. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so it actually helps. Resistance training actually helps you burn fat and build lean muscle. You're not going to get bulky.
Right.
And I am so tired of people. I don't want to get bulky. Trust me. And after
let's try and get you bulky. Let's see how that goes.
Let's see if we can. And then after a month, they're like, oh crap.
Right.
Yeah, my dress fits.
Right. I weigh 10 pounds more, but my clothes are looser.
So women hate saddlebags in my office, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you do resistance training, you can tone up your legs. You can reduce fat, which is in the saddlebag area, or the hips, and your legs will look a lot better. And don't get me wrong, liposuction can help too, but that alone is a big thing. And so they come in and they've been running. I mean, they tell Amy they've been running for an hour or two. By the way,
I eat 900 calories a day and I run for 3 miles. I'm like,
you're in starvation mode.
You've turned yourself into a Prius.
Yeah. Running, FYI, does not really help at building lean body mass. In some ways, you can see super ultra marathoners, they do not look muscly at all.
And you keyed on one key point too, the weight issue. People get too, I'm not losing the weight, but you're building lean muscle mass. And I said, and that's. When we do our in-body test, I said I'm looking at two things: body fat going down, lean muscle mass going up. I could care less what your weight is. If those two things are changing, then we're on the right path. And that's what I said, and I call them skinny fat people, is your ultra lean marathon runners, because I have a lot of those who come in,
especially in Colorado.
Yeah, and they have they're saggy, their body fat is super high, and they're like, oh, and I run all day, and I'm like, yeah, you look like crap.
Yeah, you look like a doughboy.
Yeah, and you're skinny fat.
Yeah,
you burnt all your muscle mass. And that's just, again, simple science. You can only go so far before you start using muscle as an energy source. And that's what we don't want. We want to use our carbs and our fats for energy source. It's not protein.
If you get to your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you want to look good. You increase your lean body mass. That increases your BMR, increases your metabolism. You can eat more, and you look better.
Yeah.
Right? You don't always have to do plastic surgery, right? So you can do some things that are positive. And, I get it. Cardio is great.
It is. It's
because
good
for your
heart.
brain.
Yeah,
for your brain,
heart. Yeah, yep. It's great.
But you know what else is great? HIIT. You can do HIIT training, and then you don't have to do all the long. The people who's ever listening to this, running for an hour is not probably going to get you where you want to be unless you're just trying to make your brain right.
Or unless you're trying to train for a marathon.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're trying to, and if you have different goals, marathon runners, you need to run.
Right. If you want to, if you have a goal of a marathon. But by the way, marathon running is terrible for your joints. Okay.
Also not great for your heart.
Yeah. It's not great for your heart. I mean, marathon runners die all the time. They just drop dead. These long distance runners. And then what you do is you train for the marathon, and then they go out and they carbo load, and then afterwards they eat like meals forever, and they probably in a couple weeks gain back most of the stuff they lost during that process.
And that's exactly right. But I do emphasize cross training. Right. I'm not saying resistance training is the end all be all. I love it. That's what we do at Bodies by Perseverance. But I do think you should do other things like yoga for help for stretching. If you want to go do a cardio class, yes, but just don't stick to one thing. I'm a big believer in cross training. I play a lot of basketball. It's probably not the best thing for me to do at my size, but it's cross training. It's what I love to do. It's my form of cardio. I do yoga to help me stretch. I myself as a gym owner have 3 other gym memberships. So I do believe in it. But if you were going to say to do one thing, lift weights. that is my end all be all. But cross training is awesome, and it also helps break up the day-to-day routine. So go ahead,
keeps
do a little
it consistent.
Keeps and if you unfortunately, a lot of the girlfriends, a lot of those popular clubs like that, people are going for the social aspect of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that shouldn't be your only form of working out.
Yeah. One of my proudest moments ever was finally doing the 1 minute hold with the 25-pound weight.
Yeah.
At one of the Wednesday classes.
We haven't done that for a while. We might have to do that for
Oh my gosh. It was like the best feeling of my life.
Amy can hip thrust 1,000 pounds. She's going for
she's got a strong booty.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So do you get down into the granular part with some of these clients and like try to do the 1 gram per pound of protein and all that kind of stuff? Or it seems to me very hard for the average person to be able to follow all that stuff.
Yes and no, and that all depends on your goals.
Yeah.
If I'm training for somebody for a show, yes.
Besides a show, I'm sorry, I just want to
just
normal
a lifestyle.
Normal person lifestyle. Walking in.
No, and it's all because most people can't be that consistent. And honestly, the majority of my clientele are CEOs and business people who are not going to sit there and measure out food and
so you're like literally just suggesting food types and meals.
Yes, and just making smarter choices. Let's not go out to dinner every night. Let's cook some meals at home. Let's eat before we come in for a workout. Let's eat every couple hours instead of getting to the daily grind, and then at the end of the day you haven't eaten all day. So those little steps make huge changes in the long run. I have this talk every day with people, just little things in your daily diet that can help. Now, if you're saying, hey, Court, I'm getting ready for a show, or I want to get ready for a show in 6 months, then we got to get to it.
Right, you can do the whole macro, flexible dieting.
Yeah.
So, all right, so clearly you believe in resistance training, mixing it up with a little cross training. Clearly you believe in nutritional changing, and then you said 80%. So 90%. Amy says 80%. So I think that's really evident there. If someone's listening out there and they want to change their body type, they're going to have to work on the nutrition first. And
start in the kitchen.
Yeah. And then I think what the data is really showing is that it has to be consistent for a long period of time. If we consider that what we said, the obese or morbidly obese over 3 years, 95% will fail. That the only way you're going to be that 5% is something you can do like in perpetuity forever. And the problem that they're seeing with the data now is this yo-yo dieting and extreme exertion, like they go out and really try to kill it, and then they drop a lot of weight, and then it goes back up. Well, what they're showing now is apparently is your body keeps reacting every time you drop down, and it gets harder to drop, and you gain it faster, and it's this like step. And actually, what was really crazy, and I think you said this to me, the more you diet in your life, the heavier you're most likely going to be.
More time spent dieting.
More time spent dieting. I mean, on average. I mean, obviously there's outliers, right?
Yeah. It's very consistent with bodybuilders. You see a bodybuilder in season, he looks great. Out season, he looks like shit.
Like, do you even lift, bro?
Yeah. Seriously, I have, I've seen Phil Heath. He's the #1 bodybuilder in the world in off season, and you're like, if you didn't know who he was, but dude, he's just a fat dude. That's how
I saw him in Vitamin Shop one day.
Yeah, he's a fat guy. You would never think he was the world's #1 bodybuilder.
Did you kind of want to go say, hey Phil, what's going on, bro?
No. I mean, and I know that
he's huge.
No, and I know that world, and I get it, and it's not a maintainable lifestyle. That bodybuilding world is. What a maintainable lifestyle is, just staying consistent and trying to find things that work for you. Unfortunately, staying consistent, going out to dinner every night is not a smart thing to do.
Amy taught me, even when you go order something healthy like salmon or Brussels sprouts, it's all covered in canola oil.
Oh, it's good. Right? That's why it tastes good.
Right. That's why
it tastes. Like, I had egg whites.
Why does this Brussels sprouts taste so much better than when I cook it?
Yeah.
Because they covered it in a rancid fat, and your body loves it.
Hates it.
I tell my clients 2 things that if you can do that, I would never give up. Number 1 is having a chef. Number 2 is having a personal trainer. And if you can afford those 2 things, and it's not about a monetary thing, because you can find ways to make it work for you, but those are 2 things in my life that I would keep forever. I would love to have somebody cook my meals every day, and I would love somebody to kick my butt every day. I would have a very awesome life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's food services too. I mean, if you can't afford it, and there's organic food services where the food's fairly well sourced. I don't know about the animal protein components, but
honestly, it's a lot cheaper than, if you really budget for it, it's a lot cheaper than going out.
Oh, it's way cheaper than going out.
How much money you spend on coffee, going out for meals. You can have a personal chef. I have a personal chef that will come to your house, cook your food, pack it up for you so you can just grab it and go. I mean, that's like $150 a week. I'm like, you easily spend that going out.
100%.
Oh, easily. I mean, let's get lunch in Cherry Creek. It's going to be at least $25 a person.
Yeah.
But it is Cherry Creek.
It is.
It is, and it's just a sacrifice. And same thing for training. People are like, oh, personal training is so expensive. No, it's not. Then try group training. Try a class. There's options. If you want the one-on-one, you're going to pay for the one-on-one.
It's like return on your investment, right? So that couple $100 is, to a lot of people is really big, right? But that's a huge return on your investment.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because I've seen in my medical training, and Amy sees it, what disease, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, heart disease, and then neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, what they do to people, it is terrible. And I know, people hear medical people like me say that, and then they just compartmentalize it and they move on. But it is every day you're making a choice. Do I want to better myself and avoid that in the future?
Well, even our patients, unfortunately, and you and I talked about this, there are a lot of people who come into our office for liposuction. And are they candidates for it? Yeah. Are any of those people going to work out? Not a day in their life.
No.
And others do, and some people half-heartedly work out, but there are people who just aren't going to.
Yeah. And, and that's, it's unfortunate, but, you might as well live and feel your best while you're here.
I agree with that. I struggle with it. Let's just be honest. I know you're being nice because you're in a plastic surgeon's office on this podcast, but but let's be honest with you. Like, we have really serious conversations with them. I say that to them. No BS.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm going to take pride in my work, just like you're going to take pride in your work and Amy takes pride in hers, then you need to respect me for what I'm doing. You need to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to do everything. Yeah. So for the person that doesn't work out at all, I at least try to make them do something. Right?
And I think you should, and vice versa. I've known quite a few clients who have given up and just said, I'm just going to get plastic surgery. And I'm like, you're cheating.
Right.
Well, that's not the solution.
No, it's not. I said, you're cheating. I said, why don't you just try? Try to lose it on your own before you go do that, or try to build your legs, try to build your booty. I mean, this damn Kim Kardashian phase is driving me nuts.
Nuts, right? And Instagram and everything.
We actually did a podcast a couple weeks ago where we talked about the do you need surgery or not? And Dr. Burns said there was no non-surgical option for a butt lift, and I said, what did I say?
I don't remember what you said.
I said, you've got to squat, ladies.
You squat, ladies, yeah.
You can build that butt.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
You got to get under the bar, though.
And
takes a little exercise, though.
And hip thrust 1,000 pounds.
Yep.
It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just, unfortunately, that's society right now. Everybody's a temporary solution,
Quick fix.
Nobody wants to go out and grind for it.
It's not complicated. The best outcomes in plastic surgery are people that are in shape, do have good nutrition, and also have an indication for plastic surgery. They have the best outcomes. They look the greatest.
You're like the cherry on top.
Yep.
Right? You're just the fine polishing of that hard work of that diamond. You're just the fine polishing and getting it nice and shiny.
One of the things we kind of say to people, I say to them, I said, look, you're going to pay a lot of money for plastic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put your money where your consistency and working out is.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. So if you're going to do the plastic surgery, you also got to get your life in order. I say it all the time to people. Most of the time they're receptive. Sometimes they look at me like, who the hell is this guy?
Let's just do my surgery.
My counselor?
What are you?
I'm trying to...
My motivational speaker here? I was like, no. I was like,
I care about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, come on. You live once. Like you say, you're a religious person. If you have meaning in life, you want to be a good person and help people. Yeah. Right? So you want them to change their life. With that said, life is so difficult. People struggle so much. And I think it's really important to go back to what you're saying is that you got to make it simple. It has to involve nutrition. This sounds so basic, but I mean, people just don't get it. And it has to involve a consistency at the gym, preferably with resistance training, and do some cross training in there, some cardio. Keep the heart good, keep the brain good.
We're not reinventing the wheel, and I think now people think that fitness and all this is such a new fad, or they're trying to find new ways. Nah, man, this shit's been happening for years. Nothing's new.
For millennia.
Yeah, nothing's new. It is diet, getting off the couch and working for it.
So I was listening to something, and I don't know remember where it was, but apparently, like, there was no recorded heart attacks before like 1914.
There was also no canola oil before 1914.
Okay, here we go. Don't get her started on this.
People were out working in the fields and weren't sitting behind computers.
There was no heart attacks. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
You know what the
refined carbohydrates.
Second or third biggest killer in the United States is heart attacks. Yeah. That's how far we've come in terms of this problem that we're having. And it's not fat shaming. We are 100%, accept people for who they are, but also at the same time, I don't think it's appropriate just to say this is all appropriate and good, right? To carry around obesity, not to work out and not try.
Yeah.
I will say, and we talk about this too, some people really do struggle, and there's medical conditions, there's hormonal imbalances, and the yo-yo dieting part can be really, really complicated where people really struggle. But you at least got to try. You got to get out there and do something.
And then, the other factor is we're a lot stressed society than we were. And people don't understand how good it is or how good it feels to hit a bag. Come and hit mitts. Fareed will tell you if you're mad, come hit mitts for 20 minutes. You won't be mad anymore. Mm-hmm. You'll be too tired. But just that aspect of throwing some weight around and relieving stress that way versus, drinking, smoking, or, I don't know what other fixture you may have, but just try it in the gym first. You'll be a much happier person for it.
What do you think about all these things like Orange Theory and CrossFit and all this kind of stuff?
I'm all for it. I'm all for anybody that is a promoter of health. I'm all for it. It's some of that stuff's not for me, but it is for other people. And if it's helping them live a better life, then I can't knock it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Zumba or like sweating to the oldies. Like, as long as you're sweating,
yeah,
get up and do it. Get up and dance.
Everybody has a different fit. I teach my way, and other people like doing it other ways. But as long as you're doing something, it's better than sitting on the couch.
It's better than nothing, yeah.
It's definitely better than nothing.
I struggle with CrossFit just because of the amount of injuries that occur with it.
I struggle with CrossFit as well. It's just not for me, and I'm a very experienced lifter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I find myself getting hurt. Like I said, I've been lifting since I was 12.
I think CrossFit's tough because it adds that competition in, and I think people all of us, when you throw that competition in, we're going to do stupid things.
Snatches aren't at heavyweight. I don't believe should be done in a competition.
Yeah.
those are 1 rep max type things.
Exactly.
As a football player, there's no way I was doing power cleans for 25 reps.
Right, for time.
Yeah, against some guy that I'm trying to beat. That's just not smart.
Yeah, you see those guys at the gym, they're practicing their CrossFit, and they're doing this lurking, lunging, pull up, and it's just it just doesn't look like that's appropriate.
You see a lot of funny stuff at gyms.
And the lurch the body forward to do the biceps thing.
That
guy,
the full body bicep.
You got to watch the video for this one, and then you got to make the facial expression, and then you got to watch everyone. You got to make sure people are watching you do it. Yeah.
I could tell you gym stories all day, and it drives me nuts as a trainer, and I just have to put my headphones and keep walking.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm sure you're terrified at the gym. It'd be like us walking into somebody else's OR. Just close your eyes.
You're just
don't do it.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm looking around this place. This is not the way it's supposed to be here.
But you can't save everybody.
No. I have a question for an advanced lifter. So you're obviously an advanced lifter.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's been lifting for years. How do you continue to progress?
You continue to progress by just challenge yourself in different ways. That's a great question. I actually had that addressed to me. It's almost to that point of, all right, so how many times do you suggest I work out a week? Myself, I work out 7 times a week, but I do more concentrated movements. So what I mean by that, one day this may be strictly chest, one day may be strictly back, and that's more of an advanced form. When you get to that point where you can just do one muscle group for an hour, it's because your muscle can take that load. And that takes years and time to develop. Wouldn't suggest starting off that way, but that's what I do and to progress. And then there's other, physical measurables that you can add. I want to build my chest. Let's measure your chest and see if we can build your chest in different ways.
Do you always go to max, or do you kind of get into the
max?
Really getting that PR level where you're...
I haven't maxed out in years.
Okay. So when you go in there, you're kind of doing what percentage of your max, do you think?
As I say, at my age, I'm 42, I'm living for aesthetics. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to, there was a point in my life where I could squat 600-700 pounds. I'm not trying to do that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not entering a contest. I live for aesthetics. I live for function. And to honest to God truth, I lift how I feel that day. If I'm I'm feeling strong, let's put some more weight on there. If I'm not, let's lighten the weight. Mm-hmm. As long as we get through the sets and reps, it's all based upon how you feel, and that's how I train my clients. Some days, and that's just some days you're feeling like that, oh man, I feel great, got some sleep, ate. Let's hit it hard. Mm-hmm. You're still gonna do those 12 reps, so let's go a little heavier. But then some days, with your mood, it's man, I can't do it today, but we're gonna still keep walking. We're gonna keep walking towards that.
Steve Shaw said.
Yeah, and just take a little off the load. Let's just finish. And I think a good part of it is we don't finish enough.
Right, and I think that's where that consistency comes in. As long as you're consistently putting in effort each time.
Just finish.
I was a little frustrated, looking back through my workout log, that a couple workouts ago I didn't lift all that much on a certain day, and I was why was I not pushing it harder that day?
There's so many elements and factors
workout
in that, but you still did it, and you still got to the gym. You finished. It made it suck, and don't get me wrong, every workout's not going to be 100%. I mean, out of the week, even myself, I may have one workout that I'm man, I killed that shit. Half the time I'm just man, let me get through it, and let me push through it. And then I have other friends that come in and we collaborate, and that helps. So yeah, you're not going to be 100% every time. And if you are trying to, enter a squat contest, then you do need to hit PRs and do certain breakdowns to get to that level. But my average individual isn't a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, and then the problem is people listen to podcasts like this and not with someone like you, and then they're trying to get their heart rate variability, and they're doing all this crazy stuff.
You're making it too complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even confusing to me, and I was medically trained, you know. And I think that the other thing is I've found now after losing weight and kind of getting in better shape that the maxes are great, high intensity is great,
right?
But that has a time and a place, and you should really know your body and judge it for yourself. And like you're saying, hit it those days where you feels good, and then back off. I've backed off more with the weights now, and I feel like I'm making more progress with lighter weights, 70th percentile, 60th percentile of my max, and really focusing in on my form. I was telling Amy that today. I was doing legs. It was something, not a lot. I was doing squats, and I just did that full range of motion, really slow, just watching my form.
And a lot of times that the technique is going to be better on a lighter weight until you get to a point where your technique is 100% and start maxing out at as heavy as you want. But it's really about, like I said, lifting for aesthetics. You're looking to build your shoulders, you're looking to build your legs, getting a little bit stronger. I doubt anybody walking around is trying to do one rep max or PRs anymore. It's just like, why? You know,
that's true.
Why?
But you're saying lifting to aesthetics, but it's also lifting to functionality
and function.
I'm telling you, man, because like before I got in shape, and we do a lot of lipo. Yeah. I had this shoulder, my right shoulder was hurting the left shoulder, and now, I'm not saying the range of motion's good, but I don't have pain anymore.
No, and we have a great trainer down that does functional movement, and if you train with me, you're required to go to that class twice a week. And the only thing functional movement is, it teaches you how to stretch, it teaches you how to move properly. We go through lifting techniques. But that's really the point. It's the ability to pick your groceries up out of your car, right? To get up in the morning and not have shoulder pains or knee pains. So stretching, mobility, all that ties into a part, especially when you're lifting weights. So, you got to be able to move, as I call myself, I'm a smooth tank. I might be 250 pounds, but I can move.
Yeah, you can move. And I think that we've talked about it before, but the neuroaxis part of lifting weights, and it's
mind to muscle connection.
Yeah, that connection. In medicine, we call it proprioception, but like knowing where you are. Yeah. It's definitely improved, and I'm 45, and that's great, because usually you'll see a cognitive decline in people
as you get older.
Yeah, and then it's really evident by proprioception, that people's ability with balance and mobility. And so I've seen an improvement for me personally. Yeah. Where it should start. It is in decline.
And if it is in decline, that's for certain things you need to pay attention to more, right? And do drills that are going to help you. Boxing. I think boxing is one of the greatest things you can do, just for eye-hand coordination, speed as you get older, memory when you're throwing out combinations for your mind, making you think, especially when you're tired. A lot of these races, death races, they have you doing a math test at the end of the death race. People are like, why is that? I said, because you're exhausted. And trying to think when you're exhausted is one of the hardest things you can do. Hitting mitts when you're tired and your coach calls out 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. You're like, what? But it makes you think, and we do that on purpose.
That's because I'm not experienced with boxing. What KP was like yelling at numbers like, bro, I don't even know what you're saying right now. Can I just have something on the wall where I can look over there?
That was when KP would make us do that. Like, he'd write all the numbers on the board, but he'd make you do something else at the same time, but you had to say the numbers out loud. Yeah. And you had to do like them backwards and forwards, and oh my goodness, like, talk about hard. It had nothing to do with the combination you were throwing, just like saying those numbers while you were trying to do something else. I'm like, while you're working out
is tough. Yeah, it is definitely it's definitely challenging. I think as we get older, you just make different challenges, and trying to make yourself a little bit better. It goes into that symptom as we know we're getting older, but why not be like wine?
Yeah,
get better.
Yeah, I mean, so to that point, you were like a super accomplished athlete. You ran the 4.240 or whatever you ran. Right. You're cornerback. You're good enough to make the NFL. You had bad luck. You're like a super gifted person. Your life is in some way defined by your physical nature. Plus, you have a business based on it, and that's going to change over time. Like, what do people do that how do you deal with that moving forward as you get older? I mean, you have religion, family, all that kind of stuff, but like, just purely from your self perception.
Well, I think it's with anybody. You have to figure out why you're here. Yeah. And I can't tell you why you're here. Only you can figure that out. And once you figure that out, why you're here and your purpose, do what you can and make the best. You would have told me 30 years ago that I was going to be a trainer, I'd laugh. Hell no, I'm not going to be a trainer. If I was going to be a coach, no. But once I figured out that's why I was here, I want to be the best one I can be. I want when people come to my funeral to be like, man, you remember when Courtney had us doing that crazy shit?
Sidewalk pimping. I
remember that. Yeah.
Could I go on the railroad thing with the shoulders?
The walking lunges around the city block.
That's sidewalk pimping.
I remember how you made them feel. So that's.
And then run the stairs.
No, we don't have any stairs anymore. We got some heavy sleds now. But it's things of that nature that you have to figure out. And if you're here to be the best teacher, if you're here to be the best plastic surgeon, how can we make you more efficient at that? A lot of my guys are finance guys. I'm like, how can we make you better in finance? And how much better will you be if your mind's clear, if you're less stressed, if you feel good about yourself? You can wake up in the mirror and be like, damn, dude, I look good in this. I mean, Doc, you're rocking that suit. You look good in that suit, and to me that.
See, I wish I could wear the perseverance thing with the tattooed arms. You want to switch for a day?
I would, and honestly,
be a lean Irish dude.
I honestly, I tell people like that. I was like, man, I could rock a suit, but that's not my uniform. I would expect this out of you. People expect this out of me. I should.
Well, that's funny because identity. We talked about this, like self-perception. There's actually a really good podcast we did on self-perception.
Yeah.
That the data shows that if you have improved self-perception, you take better care of yourself. You put on sunscreen. You take your medications you're supposed to take. Yeah. You tend to eat better.
You brush your teeth at night.
Yeah. You live longer.
You live longer. I mean, just by the way you look at yourself.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, I'm not technically a suit person, but wearing something like this, it gets me certain and kind of a mindset almost, to be honest with you.
It's ready to roll.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I put my scrubs on, it's the same thing. And I said something the other day too. This is really funny. I woke up and I was frustrated. I'm not usually a frustrated person. and my wife was like, go stand in the corner. I don't want to talk with you right now. I mean, even my dog, who's like the nicest dog in the world, I'm like, you're kind of annoying me, man. So I got in the OR. I put my scrubs on. And all of a sudden, I felt a weight go off of me. I got in the OR, and a little nice music was on.
Rocked it.
Done.
Yeah.
And so there's something like about a zone. Okay. If you're working out, you got to find that zone, right? If you have a job, you got to find that zone. If you have a passion, you have to find that zone. And that zone is where you lose track of time. And I think with working out, the problem that people can't find zones is they try to do too hard. They're not consistent. They don't find things they like to do. That's where you talk about the variability. And professionally speaking, that's the same way. The main thing people struggle with, I saw this in training, we see this with our patients, is self-confidence. Problems with self-confidence comes in many different forms, but that's what really holds people back.
For sure.
Like, I can't do it. That voice,
Yeah.
I didn't come from a good enough family to be able to blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. I can't lose the weight. I can't get rid of this. My life sucks, blah, blah, blah. All those things, it's very personal. You have to find something that stimulates you. I just feel totally lucky and blessed that I found surgery, I mean, Amy is so avid about nutrition, and she loves surgery, and it's like we're just lucky.
And that's your job as a coach.
Yeah.
I deal with all assets of life, from you name it, but that's my job, is to figure out what makes you tick, or how to communicate that to you, or how to motivate you. And that's truly the difference between a trainer and a coach. There's a lot of book smart ass trainers out there who have never lifted a weight in their life. Mm-hmm. But how do you translate that to make people want to hit their goals and make them want to move, make them feel better about themselves? That's what a coach does. A coach finds that. A coach relates different. Some people you have to yell at. Some people you have to talk shit to. Some people you just have to have a calm voice and say, hey, what can I do to help you today? And that's all they need. There's a lot of times when my clients come in, they just want somebody to talk to. But we can talk and lift. I'm going to listen to all your problems. You can tell me you hate your husband, what your wife did last night, what your best friend's doing, but let's talk and lift.
See, when I work, the patients are asleep, so I don't have to hear about the husbands they hate.
You just have to listen to OR stuff.
Yeah, you just
I have to hear the anesthesiologist tell me about the husband she hates,
Right. So you're listening to the other aspect of it. But that's really the big aspect of it, is being a coach, is just trying to figure out how to motivate.
All three of us here deal with the human condition,
Mm-hmm.
We just deal with it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and I don't want to speak for Amy, but I know she feels the same way, I think that someone like you, a coach like you, is mandatory for someone who wants to change their life and look better and feel better. I really do. I think that you can't coach yourself. I think Orange Theory and CrossFit are great. Group sessions are great, but you need someone one-on-one to really evaluate you, look at your form, make a program for you that works, and that has to be a long-term commitment. Not like, I know you do 4 months or 6 months. It has to be indefinitely.
Yeah, it's one of the two essentials. Like I said, if I could have a chef and a coach, it'd be no doubt for the rest of my life. No doubt. Just somebody to help me with my sanity every day, with my food every day, and just make me a better person every day. And that's really truly what we do. We're a service, and I try to remind my trainers that like we are here. We are in the service industry. When people come in here, they need to walk out feeling different. Mm-hmm. They need to come here for an experience. They need to come just to be a better them. And I see that every day. People wake up, come in shitty, and they leave, they're like, damn, I feel better. Thanks. Yeah. And that's my biggest gratitude to anybody. When I can have somebody tell me thank you for making them feel better, I'm like, we did it. Yeah. You know, who cares if you're not, losing a dramatic amount of weight right now, but over time you will. But you feel better, and it makes you want to wake up the next day and come back and do it again. So that's what we're there. We're in the service industry, and our service is try to accomplish goals and make you feel better. Persevere through life.
That's right. Yeah. Bodies by perseverance.
Perseverance.
You got to persevere.
BBP.
There you go. You got it. You got it.
I got this.
We have to get you.
All right. So it's at my BBP, right?
Correct. MYBBP.
Yeah. And that's you're on Instagram. You also have a website, but
Facebook.
As we correctly noted, no one goes on the internet anymore for websites. And also, Courtney has an amazing story that I think is representative of some of the stuff we're trying to say here, is that not only do you cherish people that are driven and special, but also we really cherish people that have overcome adversity, fracturing your leg, tearing your hamstring. Your whole life was based on...
We didn't even talk about his Achilles tear.
Yeah.
But then you met your wife then. How many things have you injured?
Man, God Lord. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, Achilles, fibula. Those are about the two major ones, but overcoming a lot. I've had a trouble. I got shot when I was 11 years old. I don't even know if you know that, Amy.
I did.
Oh, so overcoming quote unquote wanting to be a gang member, and doing stupid stuff like that. So. Getting shot when you're in 8th grade is not a good thing to either. And to accomplish that and to be a college graduate and just a lifelong of stories. But I think that's why I love this word perseverance so much, because I've truly lived it and truly felt it and still going through it, ups and downs. But so I tell people perseverance is life and life is perseverance. You just got to keep fighting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yes. Yeah. What else can we add?
I think that says it all.
Yeah. Courtney for president.
Absolutely. I'd vote for Courtney.
Never.
No, he doesn't deserve that.
I'll take you to my suit guy. We'll get you all set up. I'll write your stump speeches.
Want that pressure on my shoulders. Okay. I couldn't imagine being the president.
All right, Ames, so why don't you close this out?
So if you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to leave us a rating and review. They really do help. It makes a big difference. Share us with your friends. You can find us on all social media at Jason Martin MD and also at Beauty and the Surgeon Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and if anybody tweets, we're tweeting randomly also. Thank you so much.
She hates Twitter. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you, guys.